right, I'm just gonna come out and say it. Ponoka might be one of the most slept on communities in Central Alberta. People are always asking me about Sylvan Lake, Red Deer, Black Falls, Lacombe, but no one ever starts with Ponoka. And I get it, it's not the first place that comes to mind, but that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be on your radar. So stick around because today I'm gonna show you what life's actually like in Ponoka, Alberta. From location, lifestyle, schools, we're gonna talk about all the shopping, and at the end, I'll take you inside a home listed right here in town so you can see exactly what kind of value you can get for your money. All right, let's talk about the location for a second. So Ponoka is a town of about 8,000 people. So it's kind of sitting in this really sweet spot right in between some of the bigger centers in Central Alberta. That train is going off. Can you guys hear the train? So that is something, we do have a train coming right through town here in Ponoka, so something to keep in mind. But back to location. So you're only about 40 minutes north of Red Deer, which makes it a super easy drive if you're commuting to the city for work, or maybe you have kids going to college, or you need to make a Costco run. When we actually moved out to an acreage by Ponoka, I worked on the Red Deer Fire Department for about 4 years. So I made that commute, every single week for my 4 on 4 off. So I know firsthand exactly what that commute is going to be like. Now, Lacombe is even closer. So it's only about 15 minutes down the road. And if you know anything about Lacombe, it is a great little city in its own right. So you've got easy access to all the shopping, the restaurants, all the services in Lacombe. So if you want something that's a bit more than what Ponoka has to offer and you don't feel like heading into Red Deer, Lacombe's kind of in that perfect in-between spot. Now, just to the north of Ponoka, you've also got Wetaskiwin. Now, it doesn't get talked much about. I don't think I've actually made a single video about Wetaskiwin on this channel. I need to change that. But if you need to hit up a Walmart or do a bigger shop, it's only about 20 minutes away. So just to the north, super handy and a good little option without making the full trip into Red Deer. And if you're commuting to Edmonton or flying out of the city, you're about an hour to the south end. So give or take, depending on road conditions, obviously this could be a little bit worse in the wintertime, but it is a straight shot up Highway 2. And here is the best part. You don't even have to drive into the city to get what you need. So you have IKEA, Costco, the airport, they're all on the south side. So you're in and out and you don't have to deal with the headache of the big city. The airport is actually located in Nisku, which is about 15 minutes or so to the south of Edmonton. So you could actually probably be to the airport in under an hour. Now you've got quick access to Highway 2, and that's the beauty of Ponoka. It's peaceful. It feels a bit tucked away, but you're still right in the middle of everything. So it's not just some tiny town out in the middle of the boonies. All right, now let's talk about the lifestyle in Ponoka. Life in Ponoka is so laid back, and I mean that in the best possible way. It's quiet. You've got that small town feel where people still wave and the neighbors actually know your name, but don't mistake quiet for boring because this town has a ton of personality. Ponoka has deep, and I mean deep, cowboy roots. So the Western lifestyle, it's kind of built right into the community here, from local events to the way that people just live day to day. I'm even on the verge of buying my first set of cowboy boots, which just goes to show you what it's like around here. I mean, I already got the horses, so it does make sense. And then once a year, it absolutely comes alive. And I'm talking about the Ponoka Stampede. This is one of the biggest and best rodeos in Canada. And if you've never been, it is wild. A lot of people say it is way better than the Calgary Stampede, and I would absolutely agree with that. So it's not as commercial, it is way more authentic, and you're not having to deal with the nightmare of being downtown Calgary when the Stampede is on. Downtown Calgary is already bad enough. Now the Stampede pulls in over 70,000 visitors every single year to this little town of about 8,000 people, which is wild when you think about it. You've got chuck wagon races, you got a full midway, there's a big parade, we have concerts. They brought in my main man, Dwight Yoakam, a few years ago. He looked a little shaky on stage, but hey, he's still got it. It completely transforms the town for an entire week. It's busy, it's loud, it's fun, and there's really nothing else like it. And it's not just a party, it brings a ton of business into the town of Ponoka. So the restaurants, the hotels, the gas stations, everybody gets busy that week. The whole town gears up for it, and you can just feel the energy everywhere. Now, if you're the kind of person who likes to get outside, whether it's just clear the head or walk the dog, Ponoka's got some really solid options. So there's a bunch of walking trails that kind of run throughout the town and along the Battle River. So you're not just stuck doing laps around some random block in town. There is a full 18-hole golf course, and it is really nice. It is a very nice golf course right here in town. So you could literally go from your doorstep to the first tee in under 5 minutes. And if you've got dogs, you'll be happy to know that there is a fenced off-leash dog park in town. So it just makes life way easier than trying to find some random park to run them in. Look, so whether you're raising a family, retiring, or maybe you're just tired of city life, Ponoka isn't fancy, but it's solid. And really, that's what most people are looking for. Okay, let's talk about real estate for a second. So everybody wants to know, what is it gonna cost me to own a home in Ponoka? So right now, the median price for a detached home in Ponoka is sitting at $305,000. Now, even I had to do a double take when I read that. Canada as a country is, it's just getting ridiculous to be able to afford a home here. So $305,000, man, you can't get much better than that. Now, just to make some comparisons here, compare that to Lacombe, which is sitting at $442,000, or Red Deer. Obviously, it's going to be a lot more expensive. I mean, it's not an apples to apples comparison. This is more of an apples to oranges comparison. The Red Deer sitting at $450,000. So that's a big difference. If you're a first-time home buyer, or maybe you're a family just trying to get into the market without being house poor, Ponoka offers a real opportunity. You're getting way more value for your money, and you're in a town where everything you need is right here. And if you're wondering what kind of house you could actually afford without blowing your budget, stick around for the home tour. Now, buying a home in Ponoka is usually a little less competitive than places like Red Deer, Sylvan, Black Falls, and Lacombe. There's just more demand in those areas right now, which means the pressure's a lot higher. There's gonna be more showings, more offers. It's just gonna be a lot more stressful. Now look, I'm not saying you can't run into competition here in Ponoka. The right home that's priced really well, that shows really well, it can still move really fast, but overall, the pace is a bit more relaxed. You're less likely to end up in a bidding war, and you don't have to completely blow your budget just to get into a home. And let's just clear this up right now. Just because the homes are affordable here doesn't mean that they are run down. So you're gonna find homes that are well kept and in great shape. Now, I'm not saying that everything's perfect or every house is going to be turnkey, but for the price, the lifestyle, and how close you are to major centers in Central Alberta, Ponoka is absolutely worth a look. All right, let's talk about day-to-day life here in Ponoka for a second. So you've got all of your essentials covered. So grocery stores, hardware stores, coffee, there is a movie theater, all right here in town. Now for groceries, there's no frills, so super affordable option, but God, I wish they'd repaint. I can't stand that yellow color. And then there's Hammy's. So that used to be the old IGA. I actually find myself going there a little bit more often than No Frills, especially for things like meat. I just feel like the meat there is just a little bit higher quality. Now, No Frills does have a bigger and better organic section, if that's your thing. But here's the part that surprises a lot of people. Ponoka's health food store is actually legit. So it has great selection, and the owner really knows her stuff. It's that kind of place you just don't expect to find in a small town, but once you do, you just keep going back. All right, let's talk about healthcare for a second here. First off, Ponoka has its own hospital right here in town. So if something comes up, sick kid, injury, whatever it is, you're not driving to Red Deer or waiting long hours in City Emerge.
I've been waiting here for hours.
It's all right here, which is convenient and gives people just a little bit more peace of mind. Then there is the Centennial Center. So this place is next level. It is a world-class mental health and brain injury facility. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that people come from all across the country to get care here. It is one of Western Canada's largest and most respected treatment facilities. It's also one of the largest employers in the area. So tons of locals either work there or they have family who do. It is not just a hospital, it is a huge part of the local economy here. So whether you're moving here for a job in healthcare or you just want to know what resources are available, Ponoka's got you covered way more than you would expect. All right, if you've got kids, no stress, Ponoka's got you covered. You've got both public and Catholic school options right here in town, and it runs all the way from kindergarten right through to grade 12. So you're not commuting to another town just to get your teenager into high school. For example, Blackfalds just got a brand new high school, so it's not like this anymore. But before that high school came, high school students in Blackfalds had to be bused to Lacombe. So a little bit of a pain in the ass.
Way too far.
Way too far.
So everything is right here, which makes life nice and easy for families. Now, for public schools, you've got the Ponoka Elementary School, the Ponoka Secondary Campus, and you have the Ponoka Outreach School. So whether your kid's in the early years, high school, or just needs a little bit more of a flexible learning setup, there is something that fits here in town. Now, Catholic options in town include St. Augustine School, which goes from kindergarten to grade 12. So this is all in one building. Super, super convenient. So when it comes to schools, Ponoka definitely delivers. All right, before we jump into the home tour, real talk for a second here. There's obviously a lot to like about Ponoka, but just like anywhere, there's going to be some trade-offs or potential cons of living here. So let's jump into it. For starters, there is no nightlife scene, and this is going to be pretty basic small town stuff. I mean, you've got a couple of lounges and pubs and some great spots for karaoke. You know, the BP's Lounge, the Boston Pizza Lounge, excuse me, is going to be the busiest place on a weekend. And there is technically a nightclub. It's an old hotel bar. I think it's called the Leland. And then we have the Royal. But you know what these old hotel bars are like. They're not exactly, prime nightclub scene.
Dance music for old people.
This club is for members only.
And shopping is exactly what you'd expect in a small town. Again, sometimes you get lucky, for example, in a place like Olds. They have all of these really big box stores like Canadian Tire, Mark's Work Warehouse, Walmart. Ponoka doesn't have any of that kind of stuff. There's no Walmart, there's no big box stores. You've got your basics, and there is a few local shops. So if you do need access to those bigger options, you're going to be heading into either Wetaskiwin, which is again only 20 minutes to the north, which does have a Walmart, or obviously Red Deer, which is about 40 minutes south. Now, if we're talking about restaurant options, I mean, locals might disagree with me, but I feel that Ponoka is pretty limited. So I'm not gonna lie, there is a handful of restaurants here in Ponoka, and I will say the best restaurant, in my opinion, is the one on the golf course. It's called 1891, and it's got some solid food there. I really enjoy it. If we're looking to go on a night out, this is where we go for dinner. Now, I've also had one of the worst meals in my entire life at one of the restaurants here in town, and no, I'm not gonna name names. You're gonna have to reach out to me if you want that insider information. And now when it comes to things like coffee shops, you're not gonna have a bunch of coffee shops to choose from. You've got Timmy's and you've got McDonald's. That's what we're working with here. You're not gonna find places like Starbucks here. There's no trendy cafe scene, just the classics, which honestly is probably what most people are gonna grab anyways. All right, now that you got a feel for Ponoka, let me show you a home that really shows what kind of value you can get here. Now, just an overview of the home. This home was built in 1968, but you're gonna see it has been extensively updated. So you're gonna see all that once we get inside. Now, it has 1,900 square feet above grade, so it has a ton of space. It's got 5 bedrooms, and it sits on a 9,100 square foot lot. So you have a ton of room. Now, even though you already have an attached double garage, you could throw a double detached garage in the back, and you could still have room for a garden and a ton of yard. All right, let's take you inside. All right, let's start this tour off right at the main entryway. So just off the main entry to the left, this is where you head up to the second floor. We will go up there in a second. You can see this entire main floor has been nicely renovated. It's just super cozy and super inviting. Now, one thing I want to point out with the entryway, a lot of times in these 2 stories, it can kind of feel a little bit cramped and tight here, but there is a ton of space here. So lots of room to kick off your shoes, hang up your coat, without bumping into anybody. Now, just off to the right of the entryway, you enter into the first living room. So this is a really spacious area. You could easily fit a large sectional in here and still have a ton of room. Now, we do have a really, really big window letting in a ton of natural light. So this space is just great for chilling with the family or entertaining. So tons of room. and it rolls right into the dining room area. So this is a really big space. Nothing feels boxed in here. Again, we have over 1,900 square feet on these first 2 floors. So, you know, maybe you have a really big family or you just love entertaining. There's room to even put a bigger table in here. And then we have convenient access. We have patio doors coming off the dining room heading into the backyard. So again, just a beautiful space with lots and lots of room. So now let's head into the kitchen. And this, in my opinion, is where the updates really start to shine. So on this side of the kitchen, we have some nice white cabinetry, really brightens up the space. And then you'll notice the owner totally reimagined this space, took out this wall right here and added in this huge island. I don't think you guys can appreciate how big this island is through the video, but it's got beautiful quartz countertops and it has a ton of drawers and cabinet space. You also have a wine rack right here. I'm sure my wife would probably buy this house just for that reason. And then even off the front, you have more cabinet space, room for more storage. So it really just keeps the countertops nice and clean and decluttered. So this entire space just feels like it was built for bringing people together or entertaining your friends. Now, let's head down the hallway, and right around the corner from the kitchen, I think this is a really cool feature. We have some more built-in cabinetry here. So this is a great spot for a pantry, or this is where you could have your coffee bar. So there really is just a ton of storage for this kitchen. And just off to the left, we have a convenient half bath for the main floor. Nice big window, nice and bright. All right, let's head down the hallway and head into my favorite room in this entire property, the second living room at the back of the main floor. So as you guys can see, we have a lot of custom built-in shelving and woodwork along this one wall. The stain on this is absolutely beautiful. And in behind those barn doors, that hides the fireplace and your TV. So you can see there's a huge window, again, letting in a ton of natural light. To me, this is that spot where, you know, you're having Thanksgiving dinner, maybe you need a break from the family, you need to pass out in a food coma. Maybe you have a cousin or an uncle like Cousin Eddie off Christmas vacation.
Shitter was full!
Ah, yeah. You checked our shitters, honey?
Clark, please. He doesn't know any better.
And you just need a little bit of a break. This is that room that you go to. Now, just off of this second living room, we have the laundry room, so easy access on the main floor. And this also leads out into the backyard. So that is pretty much the tour of the main floor. Again, super spacious, has been completely redone. Now let's take this tour up to the second floor. Now, the first thing that you're gonna notice when you come up the second floor is that the carpet is brand new and the entire second floor has been freshly repainted. Everything just feels super clean and ready to go. So this floor has 4 bedrooms, which is pretty rare. 3 of them are really good size. Now let's head through these double doors into the master bedroom. So really nice size master bedroom. You can see that is a nice big window. Again, you can't say enough about windows that let in a lot of natural light. It just brightens up that space, makes it feel so much better. Now we do have a decent size walk-in closet just off to the side of the bed. And in behind and right across, we move into the half bath ensuite. So some flooring has been updated here, and this just makes it super convenient. Now, right across from the master bedroom, we have 2 really good sized bedrooms. So the first one, it's a little bit smaller than the next one we're gonna look at, but it is a decent size, definitely bigger than average. Now, this one down the hallway, in my opinion, this is almost as big as the primary bedroom. You could easily fit a king bed in here. We have a queen bed right now. And then in behind, I like to refer to this as the hers and hers closet setup. Sorry guys, you guys are probably getting up in the basement somewhere. But this is a really, really big room. And at the very end of the hallway, we have the 4th bedroom. Now this one is going to be a little bit smaller, but this is the perfect spot for an office, or this would be great for a nursery. All right, let's go check out downstairs. But again, a small detail before we leave the upstairs. You have a nice window at the end of the hallway, letting in, again, a ton of natural light. And this second floor is completed with a full 4-piece bathroom. So no fighting over the sink in the morning. All right, let's head downstairs. Now, before we head downstairs, I do want to point out that this is where you access your attached double garage that is heated. And then this is how we access the basement. All right, it might be a little bit echoey down here. I do apologize. Nothing I can do about that. But this is basically kind of built into 3 different rooms. So the first one, as you can see, this is a really big area. So this would be a great spot for a second TV setup, or, you know, you could turn this into a home gym. The flooring has been updated down here. And then just off of this main floor, we do have the 5th bedroom in the house. So again, a nice size bedroom. And even though this home was built back in 1968, you can see that we still have some nice, really big and bright windows. So this basement doesn't feel dark and cramped like they can in some of these older homes. It feels just like the rest of the home. Now we do have the 3rd room. Again, this is where the furnace and everything's gonna be. I'm not gonna show you that because that is not exciting, but let's head out into the backyard. So if you do have any questions about Ponoka in general or this property, use this information popping up on the screen right now. Get a hold of me anyway, like, phone, text, or email. Would love to hear from you. All right, guys, I'll see you next week.